The scene that I want to share with you has to do with the story of Yusuf, Joseph, Yusuf alayhi salam. And you guys know the story, right? I think everybody here knows the story. So I'm not going to tell you the story. I'm going to ask you some quiz questions. You can answer them. Let me see how Islamic Lubbock is. Okay? Yusuf alayhi salam, I'll fill in the blanks, okay? This is a fill in the blanks questionnaire. Yusuf alayhi salam told his dream to his blank. Ooh, very Islamic. Father. Excellent. In the Bible, he told his dream to his brothers. And then they beat him up. And then they got mad and told their dad. And he said, oh my God, he saw the dream and he got mad at Joseph. A little different? In the Quran, he told the dream to his father. Okay. Now his father, in the Bible, actually gets upset. In the Quran, is he upset or is he happy? He's happy. He's happy. So we're going to start with when he told him the dream, just a little bit of what Allah highlights when Yusuf decides to tell his father the dream. Right? And you guys know the story behind the dream. 11 stars, the sun and the moon, right? He saw that dream. Okay. So he tells his father this dream. The first thing his father says is, لا تقصص رؤياك على إخوتك. My dear boy, my young child, don't tell this dream of yours to your brothers. Don't tell your brothers. Now, does that directly contradict what was happening in the Bible? Because if it was the Bible version, it would have been like, actually, Dad, I already told her. But that's not what the Quran is saying. He didn't tell his brothers. He didn't tell his brothers. But we do learn some things from the Bible that help us understand why the brothers would be so upset. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, even though, again, nothing was planned. So, you know, Mahmoud was asking me on the way, so are you ready for tonight? And that's the hardest question, because I had no idea what I was going to talk about. But I'm going to tell you some interesting things. The following is an excerpt based on what we learn from the Bible. This is not from Islam, from the Quran. Long time ago, there was a young man named Jacob. What do the Muslims call him, by the way? Very Islamic. Very good. Okay. Jacob. Jacob wanted to marry this young woman. He wanted to marry her. Her name was Rachel, and he wanted to marry her. And he tried to propose, and his father said, that's a really good idea, but she has an older sister. Why don't you marry her instead? Because apparently they were from Pakistan. They married the older daughter first. So that's not in the Bible. But Jacob said, no, I'm not interested in the older daughter. I'm interested in the younger daughter. Can I please marry her? And the dad said, okay, fine. Okay. So he agrees to marry her to the younger daughter. Wedding ceremony happens. They have this, like, you know, it's not a COVID mask. It's more of a spacesuit thing on. The women have this thing on. You can't see their face. So they get married. It's the wedding night. He lifts the veil. It doesn't look like the younger sister. It looks like the older one. So he then immediately wrote back to Amazon and said the delivery wasn't good. No, okay, there you go. So he goes back to the dad and says, excuse me, I thought we had an agreement. That's not the, this is, I know makeup artists are very talented, but this is, he says, I know. But you know what? If you stay married to her, then in a couple of years, I'll let you marry the girl you really want to marry too. You can marry both. In Islam, in the revelation of the Quran, you're not allowed to marry two sisters. But in biblical pre-Mosaic times, this is pre-Moses, it was allowed. And the Bible says it's allowed. Fine. So now the older, he says, fine, I'll stay married to her just so I can one day marry the other one as well, right? Now, the older one knows that he didn't want me to be his wife. He always wanted my sister. But the older one kept on getting pregnant and having children. And he had a couple of servants, and they had children and children and children. But the one who truly loved could not give him a child. Rachel couldn't give him a child. Years go by, and now she has all these kids. And then they knew Jacob, by the way, Jacob is the son of Isaac. We have a name for him in the, Islamic quiz competition. Okay. And Isaac is the son of Abraham. We call him Ibrahim alayhi salam. In the Bible, God has promised Abraham that in your lineage, there's always going to be a prophet. Okay, so Abraham had a child, Isaac, who's a prophet. Isaac's going to have a child, Jacob, who's also a prophet. Now, Jacob has lots of children, and one of them is going to be a prophet. And they're all waiting for who's going to be the prophet. And the older sister, I know it's bad. If you have a baby who's upset, take them for a walk, calm them down, give them love, or you can hand them to me. I love babies too. Oh, the baby. Okay. Yeah, it reminds me of my own. I'm missing him. But mine's bigger now. He's 18 months. Inshallah, I'll bring him next time. Yeah, I want to expand his horizon, if you know what I mean. Okay. Okay. What was I saying? Something about Islam? Ibrahim alayhi salam. Okay, so the promise is every generation will have a prophet. So the older sister tells herself, he could love her all he wants. I'm the one that's going to give him a prophet because all the babies are coming, that's what she felt. And lo and behold, Rachel gets pregnant. And she has a baby. And he's also cute. Because as we know, not all babies are cute. But this one's beautiful. And his name is Joseph. We call him. Oh, so he likes her more and she gave him a child? This is bad. And this used to happen thousands of years ago. It doesn't happen anymore. A lady had a problem and she made sure that her children have the same problem. Right? She passed on her trauma and her aggression and her anxiety and her anger and her resentment. She used to pass it on to her children. We've never seen this before, ever, anywhere, especially not in Lubbock. Right? So what she did is she kept badgering her own children in one way or the other. Well, your dad doesn't even love me. How's he going to love you? And they're hearing this their whole lives. And then eventually Joseph sees a dream. And what does the dream mean? That he is the chosen? Now it was bad enough that he came from the chosen wife. It's bad enough that she also gave him a child. Oh, this is going to throw everybody over the edge. Now he's also the who? Oh, this is too much. This is just too much. So this is in the Bible. And you know what? The Quran doesn't say any of this, but the Quran seems to quietly agree with much of this. The Quran seems to fill in what happens from here. And there are hints in the Quran that this is actually pretty accurate. This sentiment is pretty accurate. So when the father hears, I've seen a dream, the father knows, oh my God, you're my child. That's meant to be a prophet. Just do me a favor. Don't tell your brothers. They're not going to be able to handle this news well at all. They've been raised hearing about the promise of Abraham. They've also been raised hearing about how I don't love them enough. I don't know where they get that from. Mother, toxic mother. But anyway, and they're going to just be thrown over the edge. They're going to do something bad to you. I already see the way they look at you. I just need you to be careful. Now, my question is, here's the fun. Now the fun begins. Is Jacob, when Yaqub is talking to Yusuf, is he talking to an adult or a child? He's talking to a child. And he's telling his child, don't tell your brothers about this, right? I'm a father. I have multiple children. I put myself in that position. I ask myself, would I tell my son, who's a child, don't talk to your sister, don't talk to your brother, don't tell them, keep a secret from them? I would think that's problematic because you're turning one child against the other children. And in fact, he didn't just say that. He didn't just say, don't tell them. He said, don't tell them. They will make an evil plan to hurt you. فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا. And then he didn't stop there either. He said, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لِلْإِنسَانِ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. The devil is a real enemy, an obvious enemy to people. In other words, he's saying, first, don't tell them. Here's why. Because they mean you harm, and they are under the influence of the shaitan, the devil. That's a lot to say to a child. That's a lot. That's a pretty heavy amount of stuff to put on a kid. But he did. And if you were taking some, parenting psychology courses and you want to shelter your child from, problematic conversation, you would say, I shouldn't have this kind of a conversation with my child. Right? You should just say, okay, baby, okay, Yusuf, listen, this is going to be our little secret, okay? Don't tell anyone. You wouldn't add, by the way, your brother's shaitan. Like you wouldn't do that. But he did. And this is in the Quran. So this is guidance. So how do we make sense of this as guidance? This is actually really profound. One of the things that the Quran does is it teaches us lessons that are easy to ignore and hard to embrace. I'll say that again. There are lessons in the Quran that are easy to ignore and hard to embrace, because our lives, we are confronted with situations. The easier thing to do is to ignore the situation. And a really hard thing to do is to embrace the situation and face the situation. So this is going to get a little heavy for a moment. There are families in which there are some members of the family that are dangerous. That's a reality. Many children, in the millions, hundreds of millions of children around the world, Muslim or not, are abused. And most of them are abused by a family member or another. Most abuse of children that happens in the world happens from family members, an uncle, a cousin, an older brother, even sometimes a stepfather, etc., etc. There are, sometimes a stepmother. Somebody in the family is abusive and dangerous to children. But families don't want to confront that situation because it's a bad look for the family. So if a child is going to be put in a risky situation, right, you're trying to avoid it, but if something terrible happens and the child comes and says, this happened, uncle did this, cousin did this, the instruction from most families is, we don't talk about that. That's not how we talk about in this family. You must have been confused. Or you must have asked for it. You're going to give the family a bad name. You want everybody to talk about us? You want everybody to point at us? You better learn to be quiet. You understand? We teach our children to shut up and take it, and we're never going to talk about this again. And this doesn't happen in one family or two families. This happens in hundreds of millions of families around the world. And those children that are being traumatized and then silenced, do you think they are going to have a normal psychology as they grow up? No. They're going to have some kind of psychological problem, some kind of a relationship development problem, trust issues. They don't feel safe. They feel insecure. And that will affect their lives, the lives of their children. And we're actually passing down poison for generations by doing this. You see that? What is the solution? Sometimes, when there are problematic, dangerous people in your family, it is entirely responsible to let your child know some people you need to stay away from. I know this is usually an adult conversation, but in this matter, you need to be aware of what the danger is. It's a tough conversation. Usually when adults are having a conversation about a family problem and little Abdullah walks in, we say, Abdullah, go outside, I'll call you when we can. Go watch TV. Go watch Omar and Hannah. Okay? Go watch something, and we'll come back because we don't want to have hard conversations in front of the kids. Rightfully so. But when a child's safety is involved, then you, parents, are the first line of defense. And part of that defense is you have to know you cannot always be there around your child. You cannot control every conversation. You cannot control every second in the backyard. You cannot control the Eid gathering or the wedding or their kids are going to run around. So you need to equip them with the right kind of information. So he tells his child this hard truth, isn't it? You can't, protecting your child doesn't mean keeping them in ignorance. Protecting your child also means letting them face tough realities. So he had to tell him. This is one of those things that, unfortunately, I believe these are the kinds of lessons in the Quran that are glaring. They're right there in your face, but we just ignore them. And I think the price is paid by a lot of people. A lot of people. I used to go around the world telling this story, and just this small lesson, people will come up to me and say, I wish somebody told my parents this 20 years ago. I wish somebody told my mom this. I wish somebody told my dad this, because they literally told me to shut up. They literally told me to be quiet. So I pray the more we spread these stories and the lessons from them, the more this problem gets solved. At least not on our watch, right? So that's one piece. But now let's get to the fun part, the real thing I came to talk to you about. That's not all Jacob says to Joseph. That's not all Yaqub says to Yusuf alayhi salam. He says, وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ. Okay. He says that, meaning the dream. What does the dream mean, by the way? He's going to be a what? Very good. He says, and I think all of you have phones, right? I want you to write this down in your notes. Or, WhatsApp it to a friend who'll get confused. Write down, he will continue to choose you and teach you. He will continue to choose you and teach you. I'll explain what this means in a moment. Okay. That's what Yaqub says to Yusuf. And that is how Allah will continue to choose you and teach you. But he only chose him once. He chose him to be a prophet, right? Yajtabika means not just he already chose you, he will continue to choose you. So let's talk about choice for a moment. How many young men and women here play any sports, on any teams or anything? If you've played on a team, then is it easy to get onto a team, or do you have to demonstrate your skill to be chosen? You have to demonstrate your skill, and you have to go past a certain threshold. You have to be willing to push yourself further than everybody else to be able to make the cut. Is it not true? And if you are going to be chosen for you're going to be next on the basketball court. They're going to pick you next on the basketball court. If you don't show your stuff, you're not going to be chosen the next time around. If you're going to make it to the junior varsity team, the varsity team, the college team, right? The semi-pro team. If you're going to, go for the NBA, you're going to go join the football team, etc. You have to push yourself further and further and further in order to be chosen. Is that true or no? Many of you are in the academic field. So many of you, I think you're doctors or farmers. I'm thinking doctors. Okay? But anyway, so if you are, for example, in the medical profession, your career started, early on you were told you have to get higher grades because you're trying to get into a college that's a good medical school. Didn't you have to work harder to be chosen? In order to get chosen, don't you have to push yourself further? And then once you get into a bachelor's program and you want to get into the med school itself, don't you have to push yourself further and further and further in order to be chosen? Allah has designed a system in the world. The only people that are chosen for a higher position are the people that are going to be put through difficult challenges. The more challenges you overcome, the more ready you are to be chosen for the next task. Isn't that true? Whether it's in sports, it's in your profession, it's in academics. I have an uncle who's super rich. He runs a tech company out in Silicon Valley. It's almost worth $1 billion. And he has a very small team of people that works for him. Instead of having hundreds of employees, he has a very small team. So I asked him one time, how do you choose your team? Like, what's your interview like when you choose a team member? He says people come to me from Berkeley, they come from Harvard, they come from MIT, they come from all these major universities, and they do their interview and they tell me what they've accomplished. I did my PhD in this, I did this research, I did this, I did this, I did this. The moment they start talking about what they did, the interview's already over. Because I'm not interested in what you did. I'm interested in the challenges you are going to overcome. You cannot ride on your accomplishments of the past and think that you have come and now be a know-it-all and tell us how to run things. I need to know if you're willing to continuously be pushing yourself further, because the people who push themselves further get chosen. Then they push themselves further and they get chosen again. And they push themselves further and they get chosen again. You with me? Yusuf alayhi salam told his father basically that he has been chosen as a prophet. And a prophet is chosen by Allah, yes or no? That means a prophet has to go through more challenges than anybody else. Because in order to be chosen, you have to overcome challenges. Isn't that the rule? So when he's telling his son, you will continue to be chosen, what is in the source code of that statement is, you will continue to face more and more and more what? Challenges. And every one of those challenges is going to teach you something, which will get you ready to be chosen for the next challenge. And that challenge is going to teach you something more, which will get you ready for the next challenge. So your life will be filled with more and more and more difficulty. And with every difficulty, you will learn something and rise above and rise above and rise above and rise above. That's what your life is going to look like. That's what your life is going to look like. Now let's go back and think about Yusuf alayhi salam. What happened soon after that dream or that conversation? Did something bad happen to him soon after? Does anybody know? He got blanked by his brothers. Kidnapped. He got kidnapped by his brothers. He got thrown into a... Excellent. Then he got pulled out of the well and got sold as a slave. Then he got child trafficked, exported to a country he doesn't know, and now he's functioning as a slave, and eventually he's going to get falsely accused by some psycho lady, and he's going to end up in jail without a trial. Is he going through one challenge after another, after another, after another? He is. We call these things traumatic experiences nowadays, right? The trauma of being kidnapped, the trauma of being left alone, abandoned in the middle of the wilderness, maybe PTSD even, from being in a well in a freezing cold, night after night, starving, maybe feeling a snake crawl over his leg, maybe hypothermia, we don't know. And then when finally someone pulls them up, they don't humanize him, they treat him like a bag of rice, tying him up, throwing him in the back to sell him. I'm pretty sure when people want to sell a child, they're not kind to the child. And when they take him to a market where they sell children, they don't treat them much different than the goats and the sheep that are there, or keep them that way. And then he's in a different country. He's never going to see his parents again. He doesn't know if he's ever going to see his parents again, his family again. And all of this was done to him by the people that are supposed to protect him, his own what? Brothers. So there's psychological trauma, there's physical trauma, there's displacement, there's all this stuff going on. And then eventually when life gets a little bit stable, finally he has a home, he has a job. Okay, it's not the best situation, but at least I'm not in a well. At least my life's not in danger. I'm doing everything right. Life is going to be okay. And this lady comes along and says, oh yeah, jail you go. For something he did or something he didn't do? He didn't do it. He could look back at his life and say, I didn't deserve to be kidnapped. I was just a child. I didn't deserve to be thrown in a well. I deserve better. I didn't deserve to be put in that market. I did right by my boss. I did everything right. I didn't deserve to be in jail. This world is unfair. I'm traumatized. I want to talk about my pain. I'm going to start a channel where I'm going to talk about how I'm still continuously on a process of healing over all of the trauma that I went through because it's been extremely difficult for me and I need the world to hear about my suffering. Hashtag healing for the sake of Allah. He is a victim. Is that true or no? He is a victim. But as you study the surah, do you see him talking about himself as a victim? So there's two things that are happening at the same time. He is, in fact, a victim, but he refuses to identify himself as a victim. Do you think that conversation is relevant today? You can be a victim. You can be a victim. And so Allah gave us a story of, I would call the ultimate victim, but he refuses to identify himself as a victim. Why? Because his dad planted a thought process in him. What's that thought process? Every time you're victimized, it's a challenge. And every time there's a challenge, you are going to learn from it and rise above it and above it and above it. And the last of his challenges was when he was in jail. And when he was in jail, he met a couple of inmates, if you know the story. And you know one of the wildest things you'll read in this story? He is in jail with these inmates and he's saying, ذَلِكَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ عَلَيْنَا. That is a favor God has done to my family and me. I'm reading this like, can you look around a little bit? This is the favor Allah has done on me and my family. Where is he sitting? On a throne? Where is he sitting? In the CEO's office? Where is he sitting? He understands something about every bad experience. Every bad experience is a challenge meant to help him rise above, meant to help him learn something. Doesn't matter whose fault it was. He's not focused on whose fault it was. He's not sitting there saying, my brothers, I have trust issues because my brothers did this to me. I was just a kid. And then, human beings, you don't know. Everybody wants to take advantage of you, like the guys who pulled me out of the well. And my boss, doesn't matter how good you are to someone, how honest you are, in the end, they're just going to choose themselves. They get me thrown in jail. He didn't even ask how I'm doing. I have trust issues. I have anxiety. I have abandonment. None of that stuff. That's Allah's favor. That's Allah's favor on us. I need you to understand this because just like in the ancient world, money used to be a currency. Gold coins were a currency, silver, bronze was a currency, land is a currency, you have wealth, it's currency. You know what's happened in the new world, in the social media world? Your following, the number of people that follow you is also a currency. And what you sell to the world as far as your persona online is also a currency. And victim status became a currency. And so you need to talk about how traumatized you are, or I am, and I need to talk about my pain over and over again and keep harping on it, because I'm gaining people that are coming and sympathizing and feeling sorry for me, and and it's building my profile, and I can't get out of that because that's my currency. If I all of a sudden say I'm good now, I'm going to lose all those followers that say, hey, well, I want to see you cry more. Where's your tear selfie? So Yusuf alayhi salam was given a lesson that I think everybody, myself, all of you need. Every one of us has been in an unfair situation where somebody did something unfair to you or me. Yes or no? Yeah, every one of us. And you have two choices. You can either keep thinking about what happened, keep reliving it in your head. How could they do this to me? Why would they do this to me? I was good to them. Why did they do this? Yes, I made a mistake, but I didn't deserve this much. The punishment didn't fit the crime, etc., etc. You could relive in your head, or that is how Allah will continue to choose you. By the way, this is the same word Allah used for every Muslim. Allah said to him, وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ, right? Allah will continue to choose you. This is the word Allah used for the ummah, the Muslims, in Surah Al-Hajj when He said, هُوَ اجْتَبَاكُمْ وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. He's the one who selected you and put no difficulty in this religion for you. It's a profound lesson. It's a profound lesson of how we're supposed to think about every bad thing that happens in our life as a challenge that is supposed to make us rise. Every one of them. And every one of them is supposed to teach us something to be ready for the next challenge. And then teach us something. The new one will not be, oh, now my problems are over. No, now I'm ready for newer problems. Right? This life is not meant to be free of problems. It's not designed. This is not the Muslim worldview. This life is not meant to be, you're just relaxed, everything's okay. This life is meant to be, you rise from one level to another, based on one challenge to another. People that are financially okay may be emotionally not okay. People that are emotionally okay may not be financially okay. People that are physically healthy may not be healthy in some of their relationships. There's a challenge somewhere. There's a problem somewhere. And you've got to identify, what am I going to learn from that challenge? How am I going to get above that and above that and above that? But one thing is sure. One thing is for certain. The ayah is telling him, who is a prophet. Yusuf alayhi salam is to be a prophet. Allah is saying to him, Yaqub alayhi salam is saying to him, وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِن تَأْوِيلِ الْحَدِيثِ. He'll continue to teach you. So if even a prophet is continuously learning, can anybody ever say, I'm done with my learning now, I'm in a position to teach? No. The best teachers are prophets. And according to this ayah, the prophets are lifelong what? Learners. They're lifelong learners. That's what makes them the best teachers. So the only way for us to move forward past whatever bad stuff happened is we have to be on a continuous path of growth. This is the last thing I'll share with you. You're going to come across in your life, most people will be in one category, some people will be in another category. I like to use this term. Some of you may have heard me talk about this before. This is the last thing I'll share with you, inshallah, and we'll have a discussion. There are people that are concerned with growth, and there are people that are concerned with rank. So there are growth people and rank people. Let me explain what that means and how this fits in with what we're talking about here. By the way, was Yusuf a victim, yes or no? So who victimized him? Who was the first people who victimized him? His brothers. His brothers, right? Here's the fun part. Throughout the whole story, from the beginning, the brothers identify themselves as victims. The one who's a victim identifies himself as a learner and someone who grows, someone who's being challenged. And the actual criminals identify themselves as victims. Because once you identify yourself as a victim, your path to learning and growing it stopped. I'm not saying you're not a victim, because Yusuf is a victim. There's no denying that. It's just how you see yourself has changed, isn't it? There's a subtle, beautiful, subtle line between the two. But let's talk about those two kinds of people. What did I say? What kind of people and what kind of people? Growth people and? Okay, here's a rank person. A rank person says, I graduated from Texas Tech. I graduated from Yale. I reached this status. I am the head of the department. I am the president of the masjid. I am the imam. I am this, I am that, or the other. They have a rank. I'm the eldest brother in the family. I'm your mother. They have a rank. And everything they do and everything, the way they talk to people, the way they engage in life, the way they identify themselves, all of it is based on one thing: their rank. And sometimes they feel like somebody's not acknowledging their rank enough. So they get insecure and they have to, need I remind you, it is Dr. Abdul Karim. Sorry, Dr. Abdul Karim, if there is one in the audience. They feel, I'm your father. I'm your mother. I'm the eldest. Which college did you go to? Online school? You still driving an Uber? Right? Two sisters. One of them has twins. The other one can't have a baby. Well, you know what? I'm taking care of my babies. Whew. Even pulling rank from having children. There are people who live their life based on one thing, which is what? Rank in family, rank in profession, rank in community, rank in academic credentials, rank. And once they get to their rank, they're only concerned with one thing. Everybody better recognize my rank. And if I see somebody else rising and they might get a rank, I gotta make sure, I don't have to make sure that I rise, I just gotta make sure that they stay down. They need to stay down. I need to do something to keep them down. Because I've already reached the rank, I don't need to grow anymore, I need to put them down. And the only time they might even want to learn something is because they're feeling insecure about their rank. That's the only time they want to learn something. By comparison, they live in comparison their entire life. What is my rank compared to somebody else, compared to somebody else, compared to somebody else? I went to a country that shall not be named, Muslim country. And I went there and I noticed the first thing, the entire nation is infected with rank. Infected. Anybody I met, my name is so-and-so, I'm a third-year student at the top 2 universities. And you can tell me your shoe size next? Why are you telling me this? So many communities I've been to. I think I've been to maybe 150, 170 Muslim communities across the US over the years, right? And a lot of times I meet rank people. You know how you meet rank people? Rank people will come and they won't say, my name is Zaid. My name is Professor Zaid. I founded this masjid in 1977. This was a land. Alhamdulillah, only for the sake of Allah. We praise only Allah. Also a little bit me. My favorite rank story was I gave a khutbah one time in Houston at a masjid that shall not be named. I gave a khutbah. The president of the mosque came up to me afterwards. I've never lived in Houston, by the way. He goes, I remember when you were little running around in this masjid and we grew you in this masjid. Alhamdulillah, we have produced a khatib from this masjid. I was like, thank you, uncle, thank you. I just can never thank you enough. Let him have it. It's okay. You gotta pull rank. And then there's rank within Islamic circles. Which sheikh did you study with? Where did you get your ijazah in tajweed? Have you done this do you know this much Arabic? Have you read this book? Oh, you haven't read that book? Oh, pobrecito. You haven't even read? Oh, you're learning Arabic. Have you studied Al-Ajur Rumiyya? Have you studied the Alfiya of Imam Malik? Oh, you haven't? Oh, I guess you're less than me. But alhamdulillah, one day, you can only dream of accomplishing my rank. Right? I've seen Islamic study students throwing texts in each other's face. Oh, I was studying the mu'allaqat. Right? Oh, I love tafsir, so and so. And they're like, you don't even know what tafsir that is, do you? I got you. So, you might be able to identify very easily there are lots of people in your life that are obsessed with what? And maybe you are too and you hate to admit it. Maybe. It's possible. So there's rank people. But there's another kind of people. Growth people. You know what growth people are? Growth people don't care about rank. They don't care about special treatment. They don't care that nobody knows who I am. They don't care that nobody came up to me and said salam. They don't care. They don't care. The only thing they care about is what? Growth. I want to go to someone who knows more than I do, not because I want to get to where they are. I want to grow myself. I don't feel insecure by someone who's more famous than me, more intelligent than me, more well-educated than me, more at anything else than me. They're better at me and at everything. You know what? If they're better than me, I love the fact that they're better than me. Now I have someone to grow from. I have someone to learn from. So when they identify someone who is in a better position, they don't get insecure, they actually get happy. Allah brought people in my life that are actually better at me than something, and now I can learn from them and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Constantly. In fact, rank people love that everybody around them should be lesser. And growth people love that most people around them should be higher. Because they love growing. Rank people feel like, I'm at the top of the mountain, all these peasants are staying below. This feels good. And growth people are like, I'm not learning anything. It's making me upset. People keep coming to me to learn from me. Who am I going to learn from? This is making me anxious. I need to grow. I need to push myself. Yusuf alayhi salam was told, live a life of what? Growth. He could have been throwing in everybody's face, by the way, I'm a prophet, the son of a prophet, the son of a prophet. By the way, I got chosen. By the way, my dad loves my mom more than my stepmom. By the way, all my brothers are jealous. By the way, he could throw his rank around. He could. In fact, eventually he became ruler, per se, of Egypt. Minister, right? And his brothers are in front of him. Did he throw his rank in their face at that time and say, by the way, see where I'm at now? How you like me now? Did he do that to them? No, he didn't. That's not his concern. That's not what he's obsessed with. وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْحَدِيثِ. Yaqub gave these brief words to a child to let you and me know that part of our education to our children, part of our education to our young men and women from an early age is they have to become obsessed with growth and not rank. When we teach them, only when you get this degree will you have respect. Only when you get this job, you will be worth something. What are we planting in their head? Rank. Only when you make this much money does that mean something. You know what? An education is great. But by the way, when you teach a child to grow, they're not looking to get the degree. They're going to burst past that degree, past the bachelor's, past the master's, past the PhD, past new thresholds of research that the world hasn't even seen because they are obsessed with growth. But when you give them, you just got to get a degree, the moment they get a degree, they're like, oh, now what? A bigger screen TV? Now what? A newer car? Oh, my neighbor got a nicer car. Now I have to compare my rank to their rank, and I have to get a better car than them. Or my cousin got married, they booked that hall. I need to book a bigger hall. Your whole life run by rank. Your whole life run by rank. And this is how a nation never rises. A nation doesn't rise unless a significant population of that nation is obsessed with growth. And right now, we need to snap out, we need to break the rank mindset that the brothers of Yusuf were obsessed with. By the way, from the beginning, they had a rank problem. We need to be ranked more lovable than our brother. Isn't it? Dad loves him more. Dad loves us less. If you're in a growth mindset, you don't look at who loves who more. You don't ask, how much do you love me? Do you love me more or your job more? No, nobody's wife here ever asked that question. That's a problem in Dallas. You guys don't have the problem here. Do you love your mother more? Do you love and then children? Mama, do you love me more or Kareem? Me, right? Say me. Say it. Even if you say Kareem, I know you're lying to make him feel better. We're putting rank in relationships, in our spousal relationships, within our children, within siblings. And then some parents make it worse. Why can't you be more like your brother? I hate my brother. Now you're living your entire life just obsessed with, I need to defeat somebody else. There are girls here that, you guys don't have jealousy problems here. That's a Houston issue. But young girls here at the MSA, at the college or whatever, looking for, so some proposals are coming and they're like, where are the real men? Where are the men? And then they always get together at a restaurant other than Starbucks and they're discussing the lack of men. And one day, Mariam says, guys, I have to tell you something. 2 weeks, I'm getting engaged. And then the other girls are like, MashaAllah! I'm so happy for you. I think I triggered some people in this section. I think it's time we go back to these beautiful, powerful stories and share the wisdom in them. And I can guarantee you this wisdom and this guidance and these teachings, they're not just relevant for Muslims. This is a gift to humanity. These teachings are a gift to humanity. These teachings, these beautiful lessons, they are non-denominational. You understand? And when you see people around you that are growth people, you're going to gravitate towards them. And when Muslims become growth people, then their mindset will be the ultimate dawah. Workplace, campus, friends, neighborhood, they're just not in competition with anybody except themselves because they just want to push and push and push. So I'm going to stop here, inshallah. I've taken enough of your time. Jazakumullahu khairan. I'll open it up to any questions.